Hell had only one rule. The gate must never be left unattended. They called him Kale. Not demon, not human. A gatekeeper, forged from shadow and flame. Kale stood before the massive black gates of hell for centuries, his hands wrapped in chains older than sin. The gates were alive, breathing, whispering, begging to be opened. Millions of damned souls pressed against them from the other side, screaming, crying, promising. Kale never listened. He couldn't, because the moment he stepped away, hell would spill into the world. Kale did not sleep. He did not dream. He did not love, until the night she appeared. Her name was Alara. She came to the cliff at the edge of the world every evening, carrying a lantern and a notebook. Humans weren't supposed to be there. The air alone should have driven her mad. But she stayed, sat near the stone boundary, just far enough from the gates, and talked, not to Kale, to the dark. "I don't know why I come here," she said one night, voice trembling in the wind. "Maybe it's quieter than the city." Kale watched silently. Humans were fragile, temporary, dangerous. He should have driven her away. Instead, he listened. Alara spoke of her loneliness, of a world that felt hollow, of dreams where something watched her from the dark, not threatening, protective. Kale felt something unfamiliar stir in his chest. A crack. On the seventh night, she looked straight at him. "You don't hide very well," she said softly. Kale stiffened. Humans could not see him. Yet her eyes, warm, steady, met his. "You've been there the whole time," she continued. "Haven't you?" Kale stepped back instinctively. "Leave," he commanded, his voice echoing like distant thunder. Alara didn't scream, didn't run. She smiled sadly. "I was hoping you'd finally speak." The chains around Kale's arms burned. A warning. Gatekeepers were forbidden from forming bonds, forbidden from being seen, forbidden from feeling. "Go," he said again, harsher now. "If you come closer, you'll die." Alara stood. "Walk closer." "My whole life feels like dying," she said. "At least this feels real." Kale froze. For the first time in centuries. He didn't know what to do. Night after night, she returned. Sometimes they spoke. Sometimes they sat in silence. Kale never crossed a boundary, never touched her, but every word she spoke loosened the chains just a little. And hell noticed. The gates began to whisper his name. "Open!" The pressure behind them increased. The stone cracked slightly, just a hairline fracture. Kale pressed his palm against the gate, pain ripping through his body. "No," he growled. Alara saw him stagger. "What's wrong?" she asked, fear flashing across her face. "Nothing you should witness," he replied. But it was too late. She had already seen the black veins crawling up his arms, the chains, the fire beneath his skin. "You're not human," she whispered. Kale looked at her and told her the truth. "I guard hell," he said quietly. "If I move from this place, even one step, everything ends." Alara's breath caught. "You mean the world?" "Yes." She laughed weakly. "That's dramatic." Kale didn't smile. Fear should have driven her away. Instead, it anchored her. "So you stand here forever?" she asked. "I was created for it." "And what do you want?" Kale hesitated. No one had ever asked him that. "I don't know," he admitted. The chains burned brighter. One night, the gate screamed. Not whispers. Screams. Cracks spread across the black stone. Fire leaked through. Kale fell to one knee, gripping the chains as his body began to tear itself apart, holding the seal. Alara ran to him. "Kale, don't come closer," he roared. She ignored him. She grabbed his arm. The world shook. Hell surged. Kale screamed, not in pain, but terror, because for the first time, he wanted to leave the gate. For her. The gates pulsed violently. A voice thundered from within. "Choose. Duty or desire." Kale looked at Alara, at her fear, at her trust, at the fragile human heart beating against his cursed hand. "I can't," he whispered. Alara swallowed hard. "If you let go," she asked softly, "what happens to me?" Kale closed his eyes. "You die first." She didn't pull away. Instead, she stepped closer. Then, she did the unthinkable. She placed herself between Kale and the gate. The chain screamed. Kale's eyes widened in horror. Ilara, move! She shook her head. If you're the only thing stopping hell, she said, voice shaking but firm, then maybe you shouldn't be alone anymore. The gate fell silent, not because it was sealed, but because it was confused. Kale felt something shatter inside him, not the chains, the rule. The gate remembered her touch. That was the first sign something had gone wrong. After Lara stepped between Kale and the gate, the screaming stopped, but not because hell was sealed, because it was watching. The black stone pulsed slowly now, like a heart learning a new rhythm. The whispers changed. Not open, but why? Kale tore Lara away from the gate, dragging her back across the boundary line. The chains around his arms burned white-hot, carving new runes into his skin. Never do that again, he said, voice shaking with something dangerously close to fear. Ilara's hands trembled, but she didn't look away. You were going to break, she said. I could feel it. I'm not allowed to break. That's not the same thing as can't, she replied. The chains tightened. The law answered. From the shadows behind the gate, figures emerged, not damned souls, but wardens, gatekeepers like Kale, tall, featureless, bound in heavier chains. They spoke as one. The gate is weakened. The human is the cause. Kale stepped forward instinctively, placing himself between Ilara and the wardens. She leaves, he said. I restore the seal. The wardens' heads tilted. The bond is formed. Severance is required. Ilara swallowed. What does that mean? Kale didn't answer. He knew. That night, hell pushed harder. Cracks spread like spiderwebs across the gate. Heat rolled outward in waves. Kale braced himself, muscles tearing as he poured every ounce of his being into holding the seal. Ilara watched helplessly as black veins crept up his neck. You're dying, she whispered. I was never alive, Kale said through clenched teeth. That's a lie. The chains flared. Punishment for defiance. The wardens returned at dawn. They brought a blade forged of absence, not metal, not fire. A cut that erased. Remove the bond, they commanded. The gate will heal. Ilara realized the truth then. They're going to erase me, she said quietly. Kale didn't deny it. He couldn't. This was a mistake, he said hoarsely. You should never have come here. Ilara stepped closer anyway. Funny, she said softly. That's exactly when my life started making sense. Kale felt the gate surge. The world trembled. The law allowed no delay. If he refused, the wardens would force it, and hell would notice. He looked at Ilara, at the lantern she always carried, at the notebook filled with words she never shared, at the human warmth that had undone centuries of silence. I will do it quickly, he whispered. Ilara reached up, touching his face, careful, reverent. Whatever happens, she said, thank you for choosing me at least once. Something inside Kale snapped. He stepped away from the gate, just one step. The ground shook violently. A crack split the world open beneath them. Fire screamed upward. The chains shrieked in agony, tightening to tear him apart. The wardens froze. Hell howled in triumph. Kale didn't move back. He turned fully toward Ilara. For the first time, the gate stood unattended. Time slowed. The sky darkened. Kale felt every rule burn through him. I was forged to be a lock, he said, but I choose to be a shield. He wrapped his arms around Ilara. The gate roared. Hell began to open. Then, Ilara did something worse than stepping forward. She turned and walked toward the gate. No! Kale gasped, reaching for her. If the gate needs someone, she said, voice shaking but steady, then let it be me. The warden screamed. Humans cannot hold hell. Ilara placed her palm against the gate. The fire didn't burn her. It listened. The crack slowed. The screaming softened. Kale stared in disbelief. Ilara, what are you? She smiled sadly. Someone who finally knows where she belongs. The gate sealed itself around her. Not closed. Replaced. Kale fell to his knees. The chains loosened. The pressure vanished. Hell was quiet. Too quiet. The wardens retreated into shadow. The gate has chosen. Kale screamed her name. The stone was warm where she stood, breathing, alive, and human no more. Hell learned her name. That was the first mistake. Ilara no longer stood before the gate. She was the gate. Stone and shadow had woven into her bones, but her heart, terrified, stubborn human, still beat inside the seal. Runes bloomed across her skin like black veins, glowing brighter whenever hell pushed against her, and hell pushed constantly. Whispers slid through her thoughts like silk. You can rest. You can let go. You don't have to be strong. Ilara clenched her jaw and stayed silent. Silence was resistance. Kale refused to leave her side. The chains around his arms were gone, but their scars remained, burned deep, permanent reminders of the law he had defied. He stood inches from Ilara, hand hovering near her face, afraid to touch, afraid of what touch might do. You don't have to do this alone, he said softly. Ilara smiled without turning her head. You're still guarding, she replied, just differently. The wardens returned on the seventh night. They no longer wore chains. They wore crowns. The gate is unstable, they declared. Emotion is corruption. Kale stepped forward, rage simmering. She's holding hell itself, he said. What more do you want? Sacrifice, they answered. Ilara's fingers curled into stone. They meant Kale. That night, hell spoke louder. It took Ilara's memories and twisted them into dreams, her childhood, her laughter, the warmth of a human home. Then it replaced Kale in those memories. Stronger, untouched, unbroken. I can make him whole, hell whispered. All you have to do is open. Ilara screamed silently. The runes flared violently. The seal cracked. Kale felt it instantly. He pressed his forehead against Ilara's shoulder, ignoring the burn. Look at me, he begged. She turned. Her eyes flickered, human brown drowning in molten gold. They're offering you freedom, she said weakly. A body, a life, no chains, no gate. And what do they take? Ilara's voice broke. You. Kale didn't hesitate, then refuse. The warden struck at dawn. They moved to bind Kale, dragging him toward the void beyond the seal. The gate will hold better without him. Ilara screamed his name aloud for the first time. The world shook. Stone cracked. Hell rejoiced. Kale was thrown to his knees. The wardens raised the blade of absence again. Ilara felt something inside her shift. Not duty. Not fear. Choice. I choose him, she said. The runes exploded into blinding light. The gate reacted. Not to hell. To love. Ilara stepped out of the stone. The gate didn't collapse. It reshaped. Chains of light wrapped around hell itself, forcing it back. The impossible happened. The gate obeyed her. Kale stared in awe. You're breaking the balance, he whispered. Ilara walked to him, each step tearing at her form. Balance never asked what it cost us. She cupped his face. The warden screamed, Do not touch. Too late. Their lips met. The kiss wasn't gentle. It was defiance. The seal screamed. Hell recoiled. The wardens burned away like ash in sunlight. 4-1 heartbeat. Hell was afraid. When they parted, Ilara was fading. The runes dimmed. Kale caught her as she collapsed. I'm sorry, she whispered. I can't stay not like this. Kale held her tighter, desperation raw. Then teach me, he said. Teach me how to hold the gate. Ilara smiled sadly. You were never meant to guard hell. She placed his hand against her chest. You were meant to guard me. The gate roared one final time, and then it began to choose. Hell did not rage. It smiled. For the first time since its creation, hell spoke not in whispers, but in truth. You have done what no gatekeeper ever dared. You have made the lock feel. The ground beneath Kale and Ilara dissolved into endless black. No fire, no screams, just void. Ilara lay in Kale's arms, her form flickering between stone and skin. Every breath cost her more of herself. She's breaking, Hell said calmly, because the gate was never meant to love. Kale stood. If she dies, he growled, I will tear you apart. Hell laughed, soft, ancient. You cannot destroy what humans created with fear. Kale clenched his fists. Then let me replace her. Silence. Even Hell hesitated. A gatekeeper cannot become a gate. Hell warned. You would lose everything. Form, memory, name. Kale looked down at Alara, at the woman who walked into damnation, so he wouldn't fall alone. I already lost my purpose, he said. I found something better. Alara's eyes fluttered open. No, she whispered weakly. I won't let you. Kale kissed her forehead. You taught me how to choose. The wardens appeared one last time, cracked, fading. This is not order. Kale faced them without fear. Order without mercy is just another kind of hell. He stepped forward. The void ignited. Light and darkness collided. Kale felt himself unravel, his body dissolving into runes, his memories burning into symbols older than language. Pain unlike anything ripped through him. But he didn't scream. He remembered Alara's smile. That was enough. Alara screamed as Kale vanished into light. No, Kale! The gate reformed behind her. Stronger, quieter, different. She felt it instantly. The pressure was gone. The hunger silenced. Hell was sealed. By choice. Days passed. Then weeks. Alara stood before the gate every night, waiting, grieving, learning how to live with a heart that had once held hell. One night, the stone pulsed. Warm, familiar. A hand pressed from the inside. The gate opened just enough. Kale stepped out. Human, breathing, scarred, alive. Alara collapsed into his arms, sobbing. You came back? Kale smiled softly. I told hell I wasn't done guarding. Behind them, the gate closed, not with chains, not with fire, but with a symbol carved deep into stone. Two hands clasped together. Hell was no longer locked by fear. It was held by love, and it would never forget.